I've always been a fan of Dragon Ball Z, especially the Budokai Tenkaichi games. So when I found a forum post about a supposed beta build of Budokai Tenkaichi 2, I couldn't resist. The user claimed it came from an old dev kit meant for internal testing. Only one disc existed. The guy shipped it from Japan. No cover. Just a plain DVD with BT2 test scribbled in black marker. It arrived in a cracked jewel case, along with a yellowing note inside. Do not boot after midnight. Creepy, but it felt like an in-joke. I used my old modded PS2 and popped it in around 11:30 PM. What could go wrong? The loading screen was slow. The intro was distorted, colors washed out, frame rate jittery. The background music was off-key, almost reversed. When I reached the character select screen, something was wrong. All the normal characters were there. Goku, Vegeta, Piccolo. But at the very bottom right of the roster, there was a blank square. No image, just a red question mark and the name, unknown. I hovered over it. The model loaded immediately. He wore Saiyan armor, not like Vegeta's, more like Bardock's squad. But the textures were damaged. His face was smooth skin, no eyes, no mouth, just a blank canvas. But something about his posture felt aggressive, unstable. I selected Goku as my character, just to test. No map selection. The game automatically loaded the Cell Games arena, but everything was darker, like the sun had set. The fight didn't begin. The announcer said nothing. Goku stood idle, arms at the ready. But the unknown fighter just hovered, slightly, trembling, twitching every few seconds. The camera zoomed in awkwardly on his face. There was no music, just ambient static, like wind blowing through a broken mic. Then the screen cut to black for about 5 seconds. When it returned, the HUD was gone. No health bars, no timer. I tried to move Goku, but the controls felt heavy, like I was dragging him through mud. The unknown fighter glided forward, no walking animation, just slid. Then, without warning, he hit Goku. One punch, instant KO. No explosion, no sound effect. Goku collapsed to the ground. His eyes stayed open, still, lifeless. Then the screen faded to black again. A single phrase appeared in red static font. Bardock. No music, no button prompts, just that word. I turned the console off. It felt wrong, not scary, wrong. But when I turned it back on the next morning, the save file on the memory card had renamed itself. Tora. That name. I knew it from somewhere. It wasn't in the standard Budokai Tenkaichi 2 roster. But I remembered. Bardock's squad, Planet Meat, Dodoria. He died there. He was left behind. But this one, this Tora, wasn't dead. Part 2. Echo of the Dead. The night after that first encounter, I couldn't sleep. That single word kept flashing in my mind like a curse. Bardock? I told myself it was just a weird fan edit. Maybe someone with too much time hacked the game to tell a twisted Saiyan tale. But part of me felt something else. Like a presence, watching. The next evening, I tried again. I booted the disc. This time, no logo, no intro, just a black screen for 20 seconds. Then the character select. But it was different. The music was gone. Half the roster was now locked, grayed out with a faint static hum when you hovered over them. Even Goku. Only a few characters were still selectable. Bardock, Dodoria, and again, that disturbing fighter. Tora. Corrupted, his model had changed, no longer faceless. He had eyes now, bloodshot, wide, glassy. His scouter was cracked, dripping with something dark. His mouth was slightly open like he was mid-scream, but no sound came from him. I hovered over him, and the background of the character select screen flickered violently. The faint outline of Planet Meat replaced the usual blue sky. I chose Bardock as player 1. The game didn't ask for a stage, It immediately loaded a twisted version of Planet Meat. Burned trees, red fog, no music. Just the distant hum of something breathing. Bardock dropped in. Then Tora. But Tora didn't land. He hovered, like something was holding him up like a puppet. His armor was shredded, and the wound on his side was still bleeding, pixelated red. I waited for the match to start. It didn't. Instead, Bardock began moving on his own. He stepped toward Tora slowly, like he recognized him. There was no HUD, no timer, no controls. I wasn't playing anymore. This was a cutscene, but it looked too real, like Bardock was reacting, feeling. Tora's head twitched, fast, then again, until suddenly it snapped toward Bardock, and then a voice, and distorted and broken, but whispered, "You left us." The screen glitched violently. Tora lunged. The game crashed. When I rebooted, the save file was gone, replaced by a single new file, Echo 4179 TA. I searched the numbers. 4179. That was the Saiyan designation used in some very obscure lore. I found it in a Japanese character guide. Tora's battle number. The same ID he had. The day he died. After that crash, I tried to walk away from the game. I even hid the disc in a drawer. But that night, while half asleep, I heard it. Faint static-filled voice through my TV speaker, even though the console was off. "You left us to die." I froze. My room was dark, silent. Only the red standby light on the PS2 blinked faintly. I didn't touch anything, but it turned on by itself. The game started. No buttons pressed, no warning. This time, there was no menu, just a cutscene, one I'd never seen in any DBZ game before. Bardock was standing alone on Planet Meat in full armor, his scouter flickering with static. He looked younger, healthier. The sky was dark red. Rain fell in thick, slow drops. But it wasn't water. The texture was off. It looked like blood. In the distance, I could see silhouettes. Dead Saiyans, Borgos, Shugesh, Fascia, all still, all broken. Then Tora, impaled on a spike of jagged rock, just like in the Bardock special. But he blinked. He was alive. The camera slowly zoomed in on his face. His lips moved. No voice, just the faint sound of wind and thunder. The words appeared. At the bottom of the screen in red, glitching letters. He knew, and he left. I realized what this was. The game wasn't just haunted. It was accusing Bardock, rewriting the story, making him the reason his crew died. I tried to shut off the console. Nothing happened. The power button didn't work. Unplugging the system didn't even stop the cutscene. Tora's eyes turned toward the screen, not toward Bardock, toward me. Another subtitle appeared. "You're watching," but you didn't stop it either. The screen went black. Silence. Then, a flash of Bardock, screaming in pure rage, eyes glowing red, not golden like a Super Saiyan. Something else. Something wrong. After that night, I couldn't look at Bardock the same way. I started digging into his story again. Old clips, interviews, even Japanese-only files from fan forums long dead. Nothing mentioned any guilt, no betrayal. But the more I watched, the more I noticed little things I'd never seen before in the Bardock special. In one frame, a single frame, right after Tora dies, Bardock stares blankly at his body. And for one flicker of a second, his mouth moves. It doesn't match the dub or sub. I isolated the frame, zoomed in. He says, "Forgive me." The same night, I booted the game again. The menu was gone, permanently replaced by a cold, text-only screen that said, "Stage select, final moment." Only one option. I clicked it. What loaded wasn't a fighting stage. It was a battlefield. Craters, smoke, Saiyan corpses, and Bardock standing alone. The camera didn't give control. It circled him slowly, as if observing. Then, without warning, he dropped to his knees. Heavy breathing. He whispered, "Why did you show me this?" Then, voices filled the air, overlapping, whispering, screaming. Tora, Fasha, Shugesh, Borgos, all distorted, all begging. "You said you'd protect us. You knew what was coming. You ran. You watched us die." Then, silence. Tora stepped from the smoke, not as the corrupted fighter, but as he looked the day he died. Bloodied, loyal, proud, he stood in front of Bardock and spoke directly to the player. "You enjoy watching him suffer? Or are you just like him?" The screen glitched. The stage broke apart like glass. And then a new screen appeared. Continue, YN. The cursor was stuck on yes. I tried to shut it off. It wouldn't let me. The game loaded one last thing. A save file. Meet save, so 1. But it wasn't in the system memory. It was on my PC. I hadn't even connected the console to it. Inside the file, a folder of images. Still frames of Bardock crying. I didn't sleep that night. Those images of Bardock. His face shattered, drenched in tears, his armor stained. They weren't animated. They were almost real, rendered with a level of detail no PS2 game should have had. And in each picture, his eyes stared past the screen, not at me, not at the camera, like he was looking into something deeper. The folder had one last file. Transmission log. I opened it, expecting code or a crash report, but it was a text document. Just one sentence. "This pain must be passed on." Then, without warning, the PS2 turned on by itself again, no disc inside, just a black screen, and Bardock standing in the void. He spoke slowly, clearly, no subtitles this time. I was supposed to die with them, but I remembered. I remembered what I did, and now so do you. The screen glitched violently, then froze on a still image. Tora, Bardock, and the whole team, smiling, alive. But their eyes were hollow, drawn over in black ink, crossed out. Underneath the image were red, shaking letters. "You can't unsee this. You can't unknow. Now you share it." The console shut off for good. I sold it, threw out the disc, but every time I close my eyes, I see Bardock in that black void, waiting, and every now and then, a new file appears on my desktop, Forgotten Fighter X. I delete it, it comes back. Sometimes, I think I hear his voice in other games too, in loading screens, in background static. Share it, because that's the curse, isn't it? It's not just a game, it's a message, a memory buried deep inside the story we thought we knew. Bardock didn't die a hero. He died remembering what he had done.